Greetings, greetings, greetings. We are here. We are here. Queen Quet, you can go ahead and bring Queen Quet on in. We are here. This is an honor to have the Queen. This is part two. Part two. Last week, what it was, we used to do this stuff when we were part of the Living History group called The Drum. We would do something called We're Going to Give You the Good. We're also going to give you the bitter. And then we give you something else also. So last week we gave you the good, the origins and the beginnings of the Gullah Geechee Nation, which is still a lot more to that. But this week right here, this is now we're about to get into the bitter. And I'm going to give y'all the backdrop. I'm starting out right now to give the backdrop, and then we're going to flow into it with the Queen, because I think some of y'all need to understand this, particularly people who think they want to know or say they want to know about Gullah Geechee culture and why some of us act the way that we do and why we do what we do. That I had to share this. In the 1990s, I talked about we were dealing with cultural pimps, parasites, and vampires. I used to say vultures too, but I realized that the vulture is a good thing. But I said, but guess what? We've been dealing with them, and I began to, like, when I said I'm searching around, because I felt I need to be a protector of my people, of my culture, about what is legitimate regarding Gullah Geechee people. So as I'm going through this, I am now getting exposed. And then, like you heard, 2000, Queen Quet and I developed a relationship where now I'm doing programs with her, traveling with her, part of the Gullah Connection, doing individual events, and also going to festivals. And so what's happening, because I'm there, I'm watching Queen Quet do her set. But then I'm watching Sister Louise Cohen do her set. And already, like I told you about the drum, so I'm seeing stuff in the drum. And guess what began to happen? I would not come to Georgia, to the place where people had ignored being tied to Gullah Geechee culture. I started seeing some people start mimicking Queen Quet and Sister Louise Cohen. I'm at events in Georgia, and I'm looking at stuff like, wait a minute, what is this? What? So then I began to realize they're like pimping our people. So they got people over here in Georgia thinking like they're doing something slamming. What I'm saying, that's Queen Quet right there. Oh, because people have not seen her, that's why they can steal her stuff and go and do it. And I was like, wow, my antenna is shooting up. Then what occurs? I'm hearing stuff. I'm like, that's Sister Louise Cohen stuff from Hilton Head. I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm like, yo, these jokers over here are dastardly when it comes down to making themselves seem like they're all that. And then see people over here in Georgia were so ignorant. I'm putting right, so ignorant. And so, like I said, turn their backs on the culture. They didn't even realize what was going on. So here goes Jamal, who's been traveling North Carolina, Florida, South Carolina, and other parts of Georgia. I'm in tune to what's going on. Then I'm like saying, that's the McIntosh County shadow stuff they're doing right there. Then I'm like, yeah, then I'm like, that's Sister, that's Elder Ross, Joanne Ross, you know, stuff right there from the Georgia Gullah Geechee Shadows. And then later on, one of my relatives who began doing some of this right here, she had asked a faithful question because she would participate with some of these people. And she later said that she had asked one of the people, she said, why don't you get Amir to do anything? Talk about me. Why don't you get Amir to do anything? The person went and said, oh, he stole some money from me.
What?
So my cousin said first, when the person said that to them, they were a little perplexed about he stole money from them.
I'm perplexed right now. What?
so Queen, I'm like, when my cousin told me that, my cousin then realized as they continued working with that person, how that person was pimping them, being a parasite to them, using them.
Yep.
Then what happened was that my cousin then broke away from the person and said they realized, because they said, we got cheated out of money. And she said later on, she thought about it, she said, you know what? I don't ever see Amir doing anything with them. He does his stuff, the African spirit, by himself, unless he with people who I know, like Queen Quet, Gullah Connection on the festivals. I looked at her and said, I said, you realize, I said, you know why they don't want to have me around? Because I know too much. I know where the bodies are. I know where the bodies are because when I see them doing stuff, I can go and tell you, that's Queen Quet right there.
Right.
That's Sister Louise right there. Right. That's the Gullah Geechee Shadows right there. That's the McIntyre County Shadows right there. That's Sister Glenda in Florida right there. That you stealing that stuff and bringing it to Georgia. And see, the only person who know about it is little Jamal. And that's why you can't have Jamal around. So Queen, what else? What up with these parasites? What up with these pimps, these vultures, these vampires? And then we're going to move into commodification. My Queen, go ahead. And what's the work you've been doing? And how do we deal and address this right here?
Well, look, I want to take you a little bit back. I want to take a little bit back further from where you started. All right. Okay. Because now I'm going to go to your hometown. I'm going to go to your spot that you love so well, Hilton Head. All right. We're going to go there. Now, when what is now called the Hilton Head Island Gullah celebration started, it started as the Native Islander Gullah celebration because the folks on Hilton Head refused to call themselves Gullah Geechee.
Call it out.
So they wanted to be called Native Islanders. I said, "But what island? Then what island? That could be anywhere in the world. What that mean?" Said, that's what we call ourselves, Native Islander. Okay. So you remember there used to be the Gullah Flea Market on Highway 278.
Very White.
Islander Gullah celebration started at that flea market.
That's right.
Now, at that time, I still had the African Cultural Arts Network that you talked about. I had already started the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. Deborah Edmondson flew back because she's originally from here, Beaufort County too, but she had lived in Jersey. She had moved back home. Then she moved over here. And she was trying to promote our culture because her specialty is marketing. So she had worked with NIPCA, all right, the Native Island Business and Community Affairs Association, to launch that, to say, well, let's also have a celebration of our native culture, even in the midst of all this tourism money on Hilton Head. But when she stepped in the meeting, they said what had happened was, asked, who here would do a presentation in Gullah? Nobody responded. Nobody. Okay. And these are well-known folk.
Yeah.
None of them was going to do that. So she contacted me the way you did by email and said, hi, I've seen the work you do. I think it's outstanding. Can we have a meeting? I said, well, sure. I thought she wanted, telephone meeting. She said, well, actually, I got to come back north. I am willing to come and meet with you. She and I met in a Black-owned cafe in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And she laid out to me what was about to happen. I said, look, I love it. I want to be there. I'll help get it going. Anything got to do with our culture, I'm ready. So she was like, no problem. Let me go back. Let's get this stuff together. No problem. Fast forward. I come down, I do a play at what was the Self Family Arts Center at that time. And then we also had the festival day at the flea market. Well, that is the day that I met Bunny Rodriguez that you mentioned, and Andrew Rodriguez. They had the Gullah Oman quilt up there. Louise Miller Cohen at that time was selling home interiors. She was not doing any kind of storytelling, no kind of presentation. She was a home interiors person. Now, Louise ended up telling this story years later at the Mather School reunion on Hilton Head. I was a keynote speaker, and they brought her in to do storytelling. She ended up letting them people know. She said, if it wasn't for Queen Quet, I would not be doing storytelling. She said, because I wanted to do stuff in my language, but everybody over here was like, no, no. And when I saw her, talk about me, get up on the stage at Gullah Flea Market and I started cracking the teeth like this year and all that kind of thing like that. She said customers was in front of her and she wanted them customers to get out her way and go about their business so she could hear me. And that's what inspired her to now take on storytelling. Even though she an elder to you and I, she was not confident in speaking in Gullah in person. And she confirmed what Deborah said, that none of them jokers that was in there on Hilton Head wanted nothing to do with being called Gullah Geechee Muslet, but yet it them to crack a teeth like that. No, we don't do that over here. So now we go forward in time. I start saying to her, just like you just said, why don't you come with us with Gullah Connection? Why don't you be part of it? Let's present, start getting her out and around and doing stuff. So we go over time. Somebody else came from up north and convinced them to rename the festival to the Hilton Head Island Gullah Celebration, which goes to your question about parasites, right? We don't pay attention to the parasitic behavior. After we fight to get something so-called popularized, seen, accessible, here come the folks who say, we can monetize that.
That's right.
Why we make some money off that? And I said, y'all doing what now? I said, why can't it just be the Gullah Geechee or Hilton Head Gullah Geechee? Why is it Hilton Head Islands Gullah Celebration? I said, because that sounds like the town on the festival now.
Yes.
I said, so if you do that, they're going to be dictating to y'all who to be in the festival. They try to deny it. Well, the proof is in the pudding. Because next thing I know, I'm not booked no more. Just like you. I'm not booked anymore because I'm standing up there on stage, not just singing, not just doing history, not just doing griot presentation, doing both up there doing what we do together. Instead, you got us telling these folks about where they standing and who land their teeth, who land their bit, what family did it, and all that kind of thing. So now it's like, they exposing too much to the tourists. Maybe we just won't have them there no more. Okay. So now it becomes the Hilton Head Island thing. So of course the town gonna put money in that. Why? To bring tourism dollars and give optics to look like we do support the Black folks that's over here. We do take care of our natives. But who owns the hotels that them people sleeping in when they come there for that? Who restaurants are they going in? Sister Di restaurant couldn't even stay open after the hurricane hit her. They didn't fund her to rebuild or reopen her place. And she's a native Gullah Geechee. But no, you want to make sure it look Black, but is it really?
Right.
So here we go with a number of other people, not just in Georgia. We have, and as you pointed out over the years, it's not just buckras. Some people look like me and you.
That's right.
Definitely pimps and hold, because you got a pimp, you got to have a hold. You can't just have a pimp. You got to have a hold to have a pimp. Okay. So somebody out here fronting and somebody else making money. So we got a lot of those. And what I found out is that the mimicry comes because a lot of these folks turn around and have Anglo managers. They got buckles in the background saying, we'll put you on South Carolina educational television if you copy the story that you heard Queen Quet do at the last, because we like that one. Why don't you do that? Or one other person told me that somebody wanted her to come in carrying a basket on her head and all that. She said, oh, I can't do that. That's what Queen Quet do. I can't do nothing. That ain't what I do. I do my stories like I do my stories. I don't do Queen Quet stuff. You want to go get Queen Quet, but everybody ain't gonna do that because they want their little $50. Yeah, I need your audience. These people ain't getting no life changing nothing out of it. There's their egos at play. They want to say they got on television, even if it's a 1-minute news piece, but Queen Quet didn't get on there. Dr. Toure didn't get on there. They want to get that because their egos need to be stroked. They need to be seen. So they don't care. And they basically, that's why I say it's pimps and hoes. They'll hold themselves out for $50. Now, $50 don't fill my gas tank on round trip if I got to go to a lot of these places. It costs me that much a time. So if you can live on that, God bless you. I can't. Now, and my thing is, I don't appreciate when people don't do what God called them to do. I do this because God called me to it. If I just wanted to make money, I would just use my computer science degree.
That's right.
Instead of spending thousands of dollars to make sure our culture is alive instead. Because mind you, the people who want to be there for the festivals, they want to be here when the camera's on. Where are they when we at the rallies? Tell me, Dr. Toure, you seen them at any? Because I ain't seen them at.
Oh no, no.
Have they ever marched with you and I anywhere? I ain't seen these people. But every time somebody started a new festival up, they're there to perform and get a check. But they're not there to check in on the people, know what's happening with the people, and fight back and make sure the people stay here. So that's why we're saying they're parasites and they're vampires, is because it's a succubus. They get on there and they extract what they think they can get for the moment for themselves individually. But what about the rest of us collectively?
That's right.
That's the difference.
Absolutely. And just to throw something out there to you, another layer to Sister Louise, on Hilton Head, they were not acknowledging, and that those of us who were acknowledging, because again, I'm going to say, it was a Georgia issue and a Hilton Head issue with regard to this, that some of them, when I was going to the church and talking about the buck with them, people just going to say, he don't need to be talking about no buck. He don't need to be saying no buck. I'm like, buckery ain't no bad word. Get out of there. So people coming at me, that type of stuff. And Sister Louise went and shared that when somebody asked a question in a meeting, do any of y'all speak Gullah? She said they all sat around, they silent.
See, you heard the same thing. I was told the same thing.
Louise, and this came directly from her. She said, everybody sat, they silent. None of them wanted to even go and speak Gullah. So, and that was a part, again, that impetus with regards to that. And so this happens, this occurs. And when Queen Quet said that someone do it just for $50, some of them have pimped people so bad that they even pay them nothing, just the fact that they're right there. I'm going to put it out there. Some of you all who live right here in Georgia, in this city called Savannah, and this also in places along the coast of Georgia, guess what? Some of your relatives who have gone and done some of these events and these festivals have not gotten one red cent.
That's right.
Because sometimes the people who got them to come there got paid, but they didn't get paid.
Get paid. Right.
And my brother, Reverend Zach Lai, said something to me years ago, or 20 years ago. He said, going nearly 30 years ago, he said, we do not run poverty programs.
That's right.
So
he said,
you want me to come do something, pay me. Yo, just give me something. Make sure you give me something with regard to it, because depending on who you are, I'll work with you if you agree with me about it. But when you lying to me, when you try to manipulate, you got this grant money coming in, because some organizations get grant money, and then want to give you peanuts, and then some of us just happy we go right along with it, and then you have people who look just like you and I, who play a role with regards to pimping the people with regards to that, and y'all know some of the people, y'all tout some of the people, y'all hide some of these people right now. In 2021, 2020, and then y'all gonna put them up to be on boards and meetings and other stuff like that. I'm like, it is disgusting. Now I tell them, come talk to some of us. And people have said this about me. They said that, well, they ask me about somebody and I give them the information. And they think that I'm trying to be personal about it. I'm not being personal. When they when they engage with those people, they come back and say, Jamal, you know what?
You should have listened to you.
You know that you're absolutely right. And then we realized that you are objective about all this, right? You didn't give us the full detail. I said, right. I said, you asked me, so I tell you. But people think when I'm saying this, because I'm saying I don't want my people to be used. We gonna do that. We do that to help. And so, Queen Quet, I have to ask this question of you.
Well, let me
How
say this
have you,
before you ask your next question, though,
go
because
ahead.
you just touched on another point about trying to help. Now, you were an attorney at law when I met you. Now, you know full well how many times we've tried to have meetings with some of our people to make sure they had contracts. And then they didn't want to let us see no paperwork, or they ain't had no paperwork, which is part of why they got pimped. And when I would say to them, hold on, the same thing you said, do you realize that this person, and I'm gonna give an example, there's a few so-called documentaries out here that some of our people have been in, that they went and traveled with this Buckra dude who has promoted that all of us come from Sierra Leone when all of us don't come from Sierra Leone. And they've gone around with this dude because of the documentary. They didn't get 1 red cent. What they got was that they got to go on the plane or go on the train or go drive to a spot. They got lunch or dinner, and that's it. Meanwhile, he was getting honorariums. He was getting paid the whole time. But when I sat with them privately in Georgia and said, let us help you. Let me see your contract so I can help you make sure you are getting paid. This person will get paid everywhere you go. I said, y'all should take the film and do your own showing. They told me we're not allowed to. We're not allowed to show the film. I said, but the film focuses on you and your family. What do you mean you're not allowed to? Yeah, he won't let us show the film. We got to go with him when he showed the film. And then I said, right. And then he gets to act like he's the expert. And what did you teach me, Dr. Toure? You said to put on the Speak Monkey Speak show now.
That's
The
right.
Speak Monkey
Speak,
Speak,
monkey,
where
speak.
he's the expert, but you the monkey. So now
Yeah.
when it's time to perform, he tell you, speak, monkey, speak. Now
Mhm.
you speak. But now you, and when he ready to cut you off, you shut up. And this has continued to go on. Our representative, Anita Collins, was incensed right before the
Yeah.
pandemic started. Here it was that she went to a book signing again on the Georgia coast on
Yeah.
St.
Yeah.
Thomas. It was a
Yeah.
new book out,
Go,
but it was the
go in.
same old dude telling the sister what she should and should not say,
Yeah.
what part she need to cover. But if it's
Yeah.
her book, who are you to tell her that? So
Yeah.
again, we have to do our due diligence, but we also have to trust one another. And unfortunately, even though you have the licenses, the expertise, and everything, a lot of times we don't trust one another. And that is a holdover from enslavement. It's post-traumatic slave syndrome. I ain't want them in my business. I ain't want them in my business. Well, all of us gonna be in your business when you finish getting ripped off, though. Then you want to come a crying. It ain't no use at that point. So I just wanted to point that out as another example of what you were saying before you go on to your next question, because this thing is deeper than people realize.
And absolutely. And when some of us go and say some of this, what then occurs, they think we're taking it personal. We're saying no, we're burnt. And I'll tell you what you're saying. I have shared that story about, I say, here it is. This is your intellectual property,
Property.
but you don't even control your intellectual property. Excuse me.
Right.
The intellectual property is based on you, but you don't even control it. That
Right.
you got to get permission from somebody to show a documentary that talk about you and your family.
Right.
You talk about pimping, that is sad,
That's
but that's the
wicked.
reality. So, but when I said this to people, they act like Jamal just trying to be hard. You know
Yeah.
how Jamal is. Jamal don't like nobody. This is
Mm.
the type of stuff, and I'm like saying, y'all don't even have a clue about this. We have been around the scene. Now, I'm gonna get to the question, but throw something else out. How folks came here also and tried to divide us up. Not, oh, excuse me, I'm lying. Say they tried to divide it. They did divide us up. Here go organizations of Gullah Geechee people that have been working together to create a national heritage area with this
Yeah.
special resource study. And
Yep.
here you had folks come in to tell the people in one part, and I'm gonna throw it out there, people on St. Simon, that y'all can get a center right, y'all can get a museum
Yep.
right here, but
Told them
work
that.
with me on this. Then
Yep.
they told people on Sapelo, y'all can have the center over here. And
Mhm.
so then they said, okay, y'all can do this right. And I'm like looking like saying, wait a minute, they're trying to divide us up. And then some of our people fell for that. When here go Queen Quet got an event going on, and I'm like saying, where's so and so them at? Because I'm participating. They like they ain't get back with me. I'm like, huh? So then I'm beginning to learn even more, as I said in the 90s, that again, what happens with regards to people pimping us, and that again, I got to throw it out there, Queen Quet, you got Lemuel Patterson, you got Sister Glenda, Sister Elder Carly Town, you
Mhm.
got Brother Walter White, you
Mhm.
got Brother Josiah Watts, Dr.
Mhm.
Tanya Hall, everybody, they all chiming in because they understand you got to handle business, intellectual property,
Yes.
everybody understanding. So now I want to move into this other element. How we talk about this thing called commodification.
Oh,
What
here
is
we go.
commodification? And then how does that pertain to Gullah Geechee people?
First of all, this word commodification people like to utilize, generally speaking, when Anglo people take something from African people and then try to use it as their own and package it and resell it to you. I straight up call it teefing. It's teefing. It's exploitation. And it's usually economic exploitation. And it's usually misrepresentation because it has to now go through a European filter to be repackaged in a way that's palatable to an Anglo audience, generally speaking, and then it's sold back and said, this is culture. This is this particular culture. This is this particular story. And if they can do that, they control the narrative. They control the
Mm-hmm.
quote interpretation of a thing, and then they
Mm-hmm.
museumize the thing. And while
Yeah.
you there looking at the museum exhibit,
Mm,
the real people
mm,
are dying.
mm,
The real
mm,
people are dying. The real
mm,
voices are
mm,
being silenced. The real
mm,
individuals are being erased if it's allowed.
mm,
So all that division has to happen in order to make sure that can happen. And then the machine keeps churning out. And the departments of recreation and tourism and these
mm,
chambers of
mm,
commerce, they generally are part and parcel of all of that taking place. And so,
mm.
oh yeah, this so-called commodification,
Yeah.
we petition last year to get all these different companies that were non-Gullah Geechee owned to stop using the words Gullah and Geechee on their packaging. But does it end there? No, we found some more since then because if there's money in it, they're going to
Yeah.
try to use it and they're going to try
Yeah.
to sell it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so again, people, I want you all to understand. Listen, if you understand what it is, because Gullah Geechee is the sexy thing right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's the marketing thing right now.
Yeah.
Tourism,
Oh, it's
parks
exotic.
and recreation realize that people come to this area for Gullah Geechee culture. And they hear Gullah Geechee. So then other people now sit back and they go and say, we can make some money off of that. Whereas some of us chose to turn our backs
Throw
on
it away. Yep. Throw it
our
away.
own birthrights. And so that left that void right there for somebody else to not seep in and get it. And then guess what? They start doing it. Then some of us still sit right there and talk, let that man make money. No, it's not. It's not about letting them make no money because who should make the money? You should be making the money. But then you were not given the tools. And I'm talking about the tools of empowerment, of
Right.
self-love to then
Right.
go forward with regards to making it happen like that. They put it in your head not to value you. So
That's
then when you got something that is naturally yours, you don't know how to appreciate it. And so
right.
somebody else came along, they scooped it up. And so now they realize that, hey, it ain't even just about scooping it up right now. We're just going to exploit it. So understand this, when they slap Gullah on something, Geechee on something, or Gullah Geechee, they know some people going to run behind that. When they got their Gullah syrup, guess what? People going to run to that.
Run
and
to
we
that.
think it's okay. But then guess what? You try to do that, and then you have to go through a bunch of hoops. And
Hoops.
so, Queen,
Right. And hoops that with fire rings around them too. Hoops with fire rings around them that they want you to jump through. It ain't gonna just be a hoop. And the thing about it goes back to what you brought up a while ago though. If we would not allow the divisiveness amongst us, like you said to me many years ago at a conference, it is not the enemy without that you have to be concerned with. It is the enemy within. So if we stand unified, like how our national flag has the human bodies intertwined, ain't nobody can separate you. Nobody can get in between. There is no place for anybody else to get in between. But if I'm busy fighting Jamal fighting me, I'm fighting Glenda, I'm fighting Elder Town, you fighting this one, then that's what they want. Because while you fight and divide amongst yourself, you open up a channel for them to swoop in and do this. And so until we get out of and heal from post-traumatic slave syndrome, this is going to be an ongoing problem. The other problem is the tokenism. Some of us want to be that one of us that's in the room. Don't let 2 or 3 of us be in the room. Instead of me say, oh no, like you mentioned on last week's episode, when I was invited to that A1A meeting in Georgia, I contacted Beach Lady, God bless her dead, and said, I need all y'all to come. I
Yes.
contacted as many people from Charleston as I could. I said, I need y'all come down to Georgia so that we could stack the deck in that room and make sure we had a place at the table. Because if
Right.
you're not at the table, you're on the menu. You will be on the menu. And who making money from what's sold on the menu? Who own the restaurant?
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And so now, Queen, we're gonna move into something else. And you have coined this phrase, and I tell folks that again, when our people are doing certain things, I would say this: even if somebody's doing something that's done by you, if they go at least acknowledge you some way, somehow in that,
Right.
I find that respectful. I'm not
That is
saying that imitation is a form of flattery. I'm not saying that. I'm not
right.
down with that per se. I'm like, acknowledge the people that gave you a part of that foundation for you to do that. If that's a skit that you're doing, somehow infuse that person into it if you're a creative
Right.
person. But when you are a vampire, you don't do that. You just take it. But
Right.
I want to then move to something that you have said, and I've shared with folks. I talk about you discussed this thing called destructionment. You
Yeah.
call development, developers,
Mhm.
destructionment. What is destructionment? And also for my people out there, I want you all to understand that destructionment is the same or connected to the thing called gentrification. It
Gentrification.
gets interwoven. Y'all think it's just
Mhm.
because it's in the city. I guess what? It's in rural areas, it's in coastal areas, it's on islands. It's all the same. They're just different labels. But the Queen came with something that I think is the more proper face: destructionment.
Mm-hmm. Destructionment. I first coined this phrase in my book, The Legacy of Igbo Land and Gullah Roots of African American Culture, and did an entire chapter with that title. And in fact, I'm going to hold up the book for those who may not already have seen this book. And this is one of the best-selling books I found out. A student did research, and this is one of the top 5 best-selling books on Gullah Geechee culture. So in this book, I did an entire chapter called Destructionment and used, one might say, a case study. Hilton Head is a case study of this and how it then proliferated to other areas. And what it is because to me, it's not development. When you
Right.
come in already, people are already there. Things already exist there. And you bring bulldozers in to pull them down. And then you
Yes.
put something else in its place. You are destroying things. You are not developing it. Developing should bring the picture to be clearer, to be more than it was before. It should be an enhancement, not that you rip it up and gouge it. And then you tell me that's a psychological thing you're doing to tell me you're developing it. No,
Yeah.
that's not what's going on. You're destroying, and you're destroying not only the ecology and the environment, but the cultural communities, the family compounds, many times the historic sites, the sacred
Yeah.
areas like burial areas.
Yeah.
All of these things have been disrupted and destroyed by gated areas, golf courses, resorts coming in so that people could come in for recreation and no cultural continuation. And
Yeah.
so that's why I came up with the term destructionment. And I call the people who participate in it destructionaires. They are the ones that go ahead and exploit the community. And those involve not just the Anglo person who may own the resort ultimately, the so-called home builder or construction company. No, it also involves the people in people's families who sell off part of your family property first to even allow this person to get in here and have this property to build on. Or you set your family members up in such a way that someone get murdered for the land, because since they won't sign the paper, then all of a sudden they got a mysterious running off the road car accident, or somebody got shot. Oh, we don't know how so-and-so got shot. And we know that happened on Hilton Head, that happened in Charleston, that has happened up and down the coast. People have literally been murdered for their land when they stood up and said, I'm not selling. So if you are part of that on any level, because it's all connected, don't dare come back later and cry foul when the
Yeah.
same people you got in bed with now throw you out the bed on the floor, because we got some of them who sold out their family members and now they thought they were in with those companies, and now them companies want their land. And now they want to cry foul. Or that town that you went on and you did the side deal with behind your family's back, now the town won't let you get permits to get something you want to do. So now you all crying foul like it's everybody else's fault. No, you were part of being a destructionaire and doing destructionment. And destructionment not only ties to gentrification, but to genocide.
Yeah.
also
All right. Go
genocide,
ahead.
because
Go ahead.
it ties
Right.
to destroying an entire cultural group by any nefarious means that you can
That's right.
imagine.
That's
So
right.
you don't care if they live or die. You don't care
Yep.
if they suffer. You just want them out the way. So let's not make it all pretty and just make
Yep.
it look like it's about buildings, because buildings are
Yep.
inanimate objects. It's about human beings and
Yep.
taking away their life's breath and literally their ability to sustain themselves.
Yes. And we got Sister Debbie, Sister Denise, Sister Nanette, again, joining in with regards to this. And Queen, you just jumped on some other stuff because I was going to get into it. Because again, this work has been going on and give you all some background. Um, I had shared with folks on Hilton Head Island 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I shared people in Hilton Head Island. I said, you do not sell land. You lease land. You do
Yes,
not sell land. You lease
right.
land. You lease the land so it still remains with the
That's
family and there are benefits that will come.
for
Folks are still
generations.
going and sold land
Mhm.
and have people from Myrtle Beach area, South Carolina. I told brothers, say, tell your mama, do not sell that land in Myrtle Beach.
Mhm.
Lease the land. Elder
Mhm.
Collie Count asked me over a decade ago, about somebody, I just say, well, tell the brother such and such, so lease the land.
Mhm.
So that's what we tell folks, because you keep it.
Mhm.
And even here in our cities, in our urban areas, you don't sell the property, you keep
That's
the
right.
property because
Lease it.
that's how you keep your communities, because they're now trying to get rid of your communities. So you become like Charleston is, because Charleston now become the example of how
Yeah,
people are not living in Charleston, Gullah
that's
Geechee
right.
people, not
That's right.
downtown and all of that. And
Mhm.
so Queen Quet, you jumped ahead of me on it because now but I was gonna get into it. And Queen Quet, discuss with us your perspectives, and we're gonna have a conversation about Soledad O'Brien's her report that was done with
Mm.
regard to that, and then we can move into the people who participate, and we ain't gotta call their names out, but people who we know who help participate with regards to selling off birthrights of people who look
Right.
just like us. But Soledad O'Brien, with regard to that report, because everybody got excited, people were excited about that. Please give us, because there's another side to that people don't understand when it
All
comes
right.
to matters like that.
So people got excited about going to a funeral because that report was done like many reports are done from mainstream media. It's a victim report. It's not a victory report.
Stop, Queen Quet. Please stop. Please stop. I want you, because me and you had this we've talked about this powerful statement. I want you to please repeat what you just said, that last part, because that's what the people listening, I want them to understand. You just said something that's powerful.
It is a victim report, not a victory report. So to me, that is like someone said to me yesterday that it's a shame that we celebrate the dead like they living and treat the living like they dead. And so while we're here doing this work, you don't get nobody to join in, and you don't get no bunch of national news about fighting for your rights, standing for your human right to self-determination, because that means you have to destroy the status quo. You have to unravel racism. You have to dismantle it. You have to restructure the miseducation system and everything else. If you go out here and tell the story of there being a Gullah Geechee nation where a group of Black folk in North America stood for their right to self-determination and got recognized internationally. We don't want that story because others might copy that, they might mimic that, they might do that. So let's don't do that, but let's do the victim story. Let's do them dying. You notice she constantly is saying, just like on that Hulu show that was done by Padma, aren't y'all gone? Aren't your people disappearing? Aren't your people dying? There's a pathology that is happening with that. It is a pathological behavior to look at living people and ask them, but aren't you dying? Okay. Aren't your people dead? This, if y'all would listen closely, you hear that over and over in reports about us. And every year, no slight on y'all, love y'all on Sapelo, but every year come October, the New York Times reruns the same story for the past several years, acting like everybody dead or they're just about dead, as if they are predicting your demise. That means that there's a pathological connection to Black death and Black destruction. And that is what is sellable. But if we have celebratory stories, we have victory stories, oh no, you can't get no coverage. You pitch that, can't.
Yes.
So with that story, people on Twitter were the ones that notified me that Soledad O'Brien was even going to come to the Gullah Geechee Nation. They started tweeting to her back last year saying, well, we know if you want to talk about the Gullah Geechee and land, you need to be sitting down with Queen Quet. My office got contacted to ask us to do their homework. Someone said they want a research team asking us to tell them about land stuff. We're like, we're not going to give you information about land stuff. If you want to set up an interview with Queen Quet, we can arrange an interview and you can sit down on camera and discuss what we're doing to combat land loss and to reclaim land. We have the Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund. We gave out funds even in the midst of the pandemic to ensure our people wouldn't lose land. Let's discuss that. Wasn't done. And then even in the episode, they shoot most of it on Hilton Head, but come over to get a rural pick on St. Helena and don't tell people you're now on St. Helena. They instead make you think you're still on Hilton Head and this could be lost if someone asks you, offer you money right now. Hotel could be here. Why? A farm is there. Why are you even discussing that? So there's a pathology that has been consistently broadcast in mainstream media. And a lot of times, like you and I discussed, us as Black folk, we still around here just getting happy because we see other Black people on TV. We are not thinking critically about how we're being presented on these shows. So once again, stop getting happy about somebody's funeral.
Yeah, that is so true. We got Stella coming in, Ivan coming in, Sister Vanessa coming in. Vanessa, people, some of the phrases, she's my cousin too, but coming in, and then Brother Josiah, he went and amen you Queen by Sapelo, because Josiah, he's Sapelo. He like every year, New York Times run that, and then everybody come and think we are no longer here. And people talk about us and our culture who come here, and you deal with it also. They come and say, isn't the Gullah Geechee culture dying? I'm like, what? No. I'm like, we evolved. We're still living.
We in the grind nowhere tall. That's why I always crack my teeth and let them crack. If people know that we the benya. We in the grind. Right. Look at this. But but Dr. Toure, you're a historian like I am. Let's deal with this right here. It's not new. See, that's what's wrong. People don't realize it's the same playbook. And they keep winning the game with it because we so silly. We don't learn how the moves go, right? Look at what they call the Seminole Wars, which is really the Gullah Wars. And if you do your research, it says, quote, there are more Negroes in this war than Indians. But the campaign was to make you believe it was Indian, quote unquote, Native Americans fighting the war for 40 years when it was actually Black people, Gullah Geechees, Native people. Why? Again, because if we tell you it's y'all might join in. So we cannot let you know that y'all are leading any type of thing that's bringing victory. If we do it, the rest of y'all gonna follow that example. So no, we got to do the victim thing, and then y'all will follow that example because that's the one we want you to do. That's how we want you to think. It's all about programming, television programming. That's what it's called. That's not by accident. That's by design.
Yes. And just Janae DeVoe Biggins also said, we still here, still alive. And just like now, what Queen Quest said, you all need to understand the magnitude of this right here. That there's a place called Jessup, Georgia, named for General Thomas C. Jessup. Jessup wrote to the federal government in the 1800s in this Seminole War. He said that this ain't no Indian war that we fighting. This is a Negro war, and we could defeat the Indians. But the problem is the Negroes. The Negroes are the strategists. So when you talk about Seminoles, you better understand you're talking about Africans and Native Americans, and that the African Seminoles were the ones that led it. And you have one African Seminole leader who says, so he told to the Native Americans, he said, go smoke the peace pipe with them. Sit down, I want to smoke the peace pipe. But this war we fight is going to be an African war. They ain't had seen no Negro war. And so that's what it is. So that is the United States' first national security issue. That Gullah war that is being fought in Florida. Because they didn't want it to spread throughout the entire South, and they censored anyone that will talk about it. But we're gonna move on to people who are Negroes at times. And
Yes,
so
Lord.
um, you brought it up. So Queen Quet, not to be calling out any names, but talk about a personality. Y'all, I'm just going to say, like I would say, Lucy, a personality or personalities that play a role with regards to selling off lands of families, their own families, but the families of other people, and then get upset when they don't get what they want or they lose out. Because that's something we need to address. Because
Well,
we saw that on
I,
Soledad. We saw that on Soledad.
we
I'm
did.
just throwing it out
We
there.
did. We did. And I touched on it earlier too.
Now we can go deeper. Excuse me.
TV said, let's go deeper on this. We have it's interesting to me, even in regard to, we can also say not only Soledad, but even with the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Commission.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. We're going deeper. That's right. Yeah.
We had people that sold off everything their parents ever worked for in their life the minute their parents' eyes closed. But then because they thought they could get some type of position with the government by being on the commission, they jump on there and all of a sudden you a commissioner. But you done sold off your inheritance. You've sold off your birthright. But these people don't know your background. So now you want to lead something. So now you're the one behind the curtain saying Queen Quet is the problem. She's the pariah. Dr. Toure, he got to go too. And William Jefferson and Glenda Simmons Jenkins, all the natives who are on there giving you pushback. You don't want us there because you have a narrative that works for you. So what ends up happening is it is akin to the whole COINTELPRO operation. You can give this person a few pennies or the bag of silver to go ahead and kiss somebody else on the cheek, because that person now thinks that when they finish kissing me on the cheek, that nobody coming for them, but they come for them later. See, that's the part they never realized in the Judas story. Judas ended up committing suicide later. All right. Nobody tells you that part a lot of times, but that's what ends up happening. And then, but before you on your way to that, you crying foul. You saying that, hey, this town ain't doing me right. Or, hey, I didn't get this position after all. Like you said, the centers, we didn't get the centers. Now you want to come and confess all the things that you were doing against your people, but you had no business trying to be against your people to begin with. You'll remember when I said, oh, these people want to get me killed for a fish sandwich. You remember that conversation one day I said, and you was like, a fish sandwich, and you started laughing. And I said, right, because let's say, for instance, in the case of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor, it was legislated, not appropriated, for $1 million per year over the course of 10 years. So if you divide $1 million over 4 states, then divide that money by every county, then divide that money by every township, incorporated township, what they getting, $5? I said, I'll give them $5. But instead, you getting me investigated by the federal government. You getting the Gullah Geechee Nation investigated by the federal government. And then you turn around and then saying we're the problem because we're speaking out against it. We're saying, even if you did wrong, admit you did wrong, and then we can heal. In other words, repent for the sin you commit against your family and your community, then we all can heal together. But you ain't doing that. You still out here trying to find ways to panhandle and profit. That's unacceptable. These people ain't going to love you because you do that. In fact, they have no respect for you because they realize they can use you in any way possible to destroy your own people. So they ain't going to never trust you amongst them. That's what ends up happening. So when you say go deeper, this rabbit hole is much deeper than anybody could ever imagine, especially in the Black community. Because again, we see each other and we don't think that we should have these kind of dialogues where we critique what people have done that was only to get a couple of bucks, while now you have destroyed your whole family legacy and literally given away your family inheritance because they never pay you the value of it in the first place. And then they turn around, sell it, and you sold out yourself and everybody else.
Yes, ma'am. And the thing you all heard what Queen said about the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor Commission. They came at Queen Quet. They said, Sister Glenda, they said that she just so honorary. She always like, and then Brother William Jefferson, he just not friendly. And one came and said, came down here and talked to some people, some museum people here. They didn't know that these people relied on me for information. And they said that only thing, Jamal, that he just criticized everything. He critiqued everything, criticized everything. And the person then responded. if he was criticizing, then that means y'all wasn't doing right. I
Right.
said, I said, and somebody when they said they didn't know how close you were to Jamal. That's when the person said, I rely on Jamal, Mr. Jim, and Miss Sister Pat at Geechee Kunda for my information. And that's the type of stuff. They will come and try to supplant the people
Yeah.
around us, and we get off because they got a title position. We run with that. And
Yeah.
I tell people no. And that, just to let y'all know, you have people, and then when some of y'all talk about in the video with Soledad and others, guess what? We know of African people, excuse me, black people, not African people, black people who have participated in the selling of land as agents, as brokers,
Yep.
who knew that it wasn't right with regards to, but because it's about the money, then
They
we sell out everybody. And then we try to figure out why we are no longer in these communities, why we no longer in these neighborhoods, because we participated in the ending of our communities. Now, I will share this with y'all. I think that what you all need to do is look at Vice News with regards to what they did.
Yeah.
That piece, because they came around and got information, even though you do see somebody in the video,
Yeah.
in the Vice News segment, that which is vanishing culture, the Gullah Geechee, like that. But, and so you see somebody, which then goes and convey to you the type of person that we gotta look out for.
Right.
And so, Queen Quet, we're going to end with regards to the bitter, and next week we're going to be dealing with the peppermint. That is the sweetness of us, for where we're going. But I want you to close us out with regards to what are the things that our people need to be doing for us now to become empowered, become great. So again, with regards to for us to stem the tide of this destruction that hit us in so many ways.
Well, I'm going to say to remain great and to remain the black gold richness that we are, we have to continue to reinforce one another. We have to be able to have these critical discussions and examinations and call out things for what they are. As one might say, call a spade a spade. Let's don't start trying to change it into some other words. Articulate truth and continue to be truth tellers. And we can support one another. The Gullah Geechee Nation has a whole website up there, gullahgeecheenation.com. We're on Facebook as Gullah Geechee Nation. We only put forth that which is proudly, authentically Gullah Geechee, about who we be down here and things like that. We vet whether it's an event that we really own. We vet whether it's a business we really own. We vet whether these are individuals who are supporting one another and not just part of the pimps, the parasites, the vultures, the exploiters, the vampires. No, we check this, and we want this out here so that people can economically support each other, because then we're not so much in survival mode where we can pay closer attention to these things, because the stress of survival mode makes you not have clear thoughts. And so we have to work together. As the song said, work together, chilling, don't you get weary. Grit can't meet in the promised land. This year that we promised land. This year the way the great camp meeting supposed to be going on and things like that. And I had to tell on the children, if you ever want hunter culture and things like that, plenty other people do. If honey ever want we land and thing from Jacksonville, North Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida, that where these people come in for take from we and for stand here for true. And then they go be talking about, oh, look who used to be here. The Gullah Geechee used to be here, or they're going to be costumed as us and saying that they are doing reenactments of the Gullah Geechees who used to exist here. So we are still here. We'd have been here. We in the guino with tall. So from now on, we need to work with each other. We need to have our events not in competition with one another, but collectively with one another. And that's how other folk do. And we should take that page out their playbook and use it to our benefit too. So we need to work together, stay together, united as one. We be Gullah Geechee anointed people, like Hunter see right there in that tree. It's one tree, one family, one nation, united and free. Hunter think free, Hunter be free. Say that Gullah Geechee Dr. Buzzard. And that thing true. But now it up to you. What Hunter going to
do? What you going to do? And that's what it's about. What you going to do? And so part one, we dealt with beginnings, formation, the origins of the Gullah Geechee Nation, Queen Quet, and what went on, the great celebration that brought that forward with regards to that. That was last week. This week we dealt with, and that was the good. This week was the bitter. That what we gave the bitter. And again, next week, part three, we're going to now deal with the sweet, which is a part of the healing That is with regard to the healing that will be manifested by us, because that comes down when Queen Quet said, what you're going to do, that's a part of the healing. You now need to take action. You must be a part of the vanguard right now, the Sabikun of the Sabikun. And Queen, it's an honor to have you here. But I got to throw something out. Sister Nanette Archery said something that I'm going to be picking up on, because I talk about the parasites, the pimps, and the vampires, but she's now also doing panhandlers. I'm going to now throw in the panhandlers right now. But Sister Archery, I ain't gonna give you no credit for it, but I'm gonna take that. You know, like Queen Quet gonna say,
he gonna be teething, just like he talking the side. He gonna be teething. He gonna be teething. Now, one thing I used to say about him, Sister Nanette, was that I give Dr. Toure credit. I used to give that fella that credit. That I used to say, oh yeah. Anytime Dr. Toure says something, sometimes I walk in the audience, he don't even know I'm there, and I hear him say, as Queen Quet said in Legacy of Igbo Landing, blah, blah, blah. Or yeah, Queen Quet said that, or Reverend Lai said that. I said, then after a while, he just tell me, I gotta take your stuff. I said, oh, you a thief and out here. They don't learn you from be a thief. You're thief and gut. They say if you lie, you'll steal. So now you're thieving, you're storytelling and all that. We gonna broke up that thing. So no, we gonna do that around here. You see how quick he lost his own lesson and dropping books and he lost his lesson. All right, so we gonna get him, we moving him out the Muslim nation. We putting him with the 5%ers, y'all. 360. He gonna need to do his lesson. You know what I'm saying? He gonna need to do his lesson. So I hold on to it, but for sure, definitely, give people credit. All we asking is give credit where the credit is due. And then tell the truth about who was the ones who actually came before you. Because we give homage to our ancestors. We give respect to our elders. And there ain't nothing wrong with it. They ain't gonna take nothing from you to tell the truth. That you didn't invent a particular thing. If you respect it and you appreciate it enough to try to copy it, you should at least say where the original is. All right? That's all you got to do. Go on and say, this was the original, and I'm just doing my version of it. I'm just doing a copy so that people know the reality. And I just think that's where the healing really has to begin. And so definitely I'm looking forward to the next discussion, because, we got to let some young churn know that that's the only way you're going to thrive and survive. You got to respect those who came before you. And that's critical. Our elders taught us that, and ain't nothing wrong with it. Just tell the truth. And for me, it's always about Hunter must take care of the root for heal the tree. That root goes back to Mother Africa. That part of that root that grew up in the soil grew up with our ancestors. Ain't no way we would be here. We are the fruit. We would not be here if that root wasn't there. And now we can't let others poison it. We got to let this tree be here for generations and keep growing right here in the Gullah Geechee Nation for true. So, Hunter Chillin, you know what you can do. Go run, tell that.
Run, tell that. And again, we're going to be signing off now. Y'all check out the rabble coming on. Again, we're glad to have the Queen here. We'll be back next week. And as I close out with the word be, it is said that God said be, and it is. And that's why you're here. It is for you now to make the change and to help the world better, all of us. We give the word to all of you. We just have the healing going on always. And so, again, we're closing out right now. Thank you, Queen Quet. And always remember, as we sign off right now, Savannah is the capital of the Gullah Geechee Nation. Queen Quet, we gotta go. We can't go. They gotta sign off, Queen Quet. We gotta go. We gotta go.
The power of the Lord. Make sure
they got a show coming on in 1 minute, Queen Quet. We gotta sign off. Natasha, you gotta sign us off. Queen Quet, I'm saying, we gotta go.